right. The Sort of Sports Podcast presents The Big Salad.
If it was a regular salad, I wouldn't have said anything. But you had to have that big salad!
On to episode number 7. Hosted by the one and only Quinn Maseko.
Thank you, George, and thank you, Ryan. We begin today flopping through the NFL draft from this past Thursday, talking about LeBron James' injury and Kim Mulkey leaving Baylor. But as we start, recently Aaron Rodgers has grown even more unhappy with the Green Bay Packers organization. Ryan, what do you think of what do you think of Rodgers' future in Green Bay after these recent reckonings?
Well, I kind of find it incredibly ironic where he was very upset. He made that known. Schefter reported it. And then about, I think it was 2 days ago, Schefter reported that Rodgers was upset that it got out. So it just made me laugh. I was like, yep, there's no win in this battle. So I think he is firmly out of the picture. I know the Packers are trying to save face and say not, but say otherwise. And Devontae Adams had a really cryptic tweet today, something about you only miss something once it's gone. Yeah, dead serious.
I did not
I
see
saw
it,
that
so.
tweet, and so that's pretty suspicious. So I think he's out of the picture. I think they're running Jordan Love, and I saw an article that was basically saying Jordan Love might be the most disastrous pick in Packers history. As if he doesn't pan out to be like an MVP level player, that means they lost an MVP by drafting him.
Yes
He
they did.
ran Rodgers out of town and made him mad. And I don't think they're going to fire their GM. I think they're moving Rodgers, and I think that team's going to be the Denver Broncos. We'll talk about more of that once we get to the Broncos at the number 9 pick in
I
the
don't
draft.
know why they'd be doing that. They already took on Teddy Bridgewater. Why would the Broncos take him?
I'm saying
I don't know. I'll have to call John Elway.
it's going to be them. Hey, I told you. I called Joe, and I told you that's who Joe wanted. He wanted Jamar Chase, and I was right. I called Joe Burrow.
Yes.
So,
I thought Joe Elway. Are you on the right person?
no. What I was going to say, though, is that I think Vegas and Denver are the two best spots. I think those are really the only two that make sense. So I don't really think there's anything Vegas can move for him realistically, whereas Denver just got Patrick Surtain. They could very easily move him, some other pieces, and he's the main crux of the point. You're shaking your head.
Why would you get rid of somebody that's going to help you on defense there?
Because he's the best player you have to offer to them, to the Packers.
Well, I mean...
When you're the Packers, you're getting best player available. And I think Patrick Surtain
But-
is that. Do you want to talk more about it once we get to the Broncos draft spot?
I mean, do they...
Or do you want to talk about it now?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about why is he the best player for the Broncos? I mean, maybe they think it's somebody else. Maybe they think
That's
it's
true,
Brantley
but they're
Chubb.
not going to give up.
Maybe it's Brantley Chubb.
Yeah, that's true.
Or-
Bradley Chubb?
Bradley Chubb?
Yeah, I
Isn't
think
there a
it's
Brantley
Bradley.
Chubb too?
There might be.
I think it's just a Bradley Chubb. I'll have to check.
Well, I'm saying Green Bay, I think he's out. So it's really weird to trade. You never see star-for-star swaps anymore. It's always a bunch of young pieces for a star.
Well,
so,
what stars are you swapping? It's
well,
Bradley.
yeah, there's really.
By
it's
the way,
Bradley.
it is Bradley.
Oh, okay, it's Bradley.
Yeah.
So I'm saying they're not going to trade Aaron Rodgers for a tackle. He might be a side piece, but the main piece I think is probably Surtain. I think that makes sense because I think if the Broncos weren't,
They're not getting rid of Surtain though.
well, they're going to
They're
move
not.
somebody big. They need to move
Yeah,
somebody
who?
big. I don't know who
It
the
might just be
Broncos
a
can
bunch
give
of
up.
draft picks.
It could just be a bunch of picks.
Okay, I don't know
saying
what Elway's looking for.
we can talk
He's got
more.
a fistful of picks he wants to get rid of.
We can talk more
the
about.
draft.
We can talk more about the Broncos later
Okay.
once we get to the draft. Do you want to start off number 1 pick? Do you want to move over to the draft?
Well, I got to give my take first on Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank you. You remember a couple weeks ago, I asked a toss-up question. I ripped this off of PTI, but which did Aaron Rodgers have the brighter future with, Jeopardy or Green Bay Packers? I definitely took Jeopardy, and it's turning out right because it looks like the Packers, it's over. Because this is reminiscent of the James Harden-Houston Rockets relationship
Yep.
at the beginning of the
Yep.
NBA season,
Yep.
where we're not trading him, and Harden was playing antics because he wanted to get out, and he got out, and everybody turned out to be happier in the end. Well, maybe not the Rockets because they're the worst in the league. But I mean, that association. They're an association, the NBA. But anyway, I really think that Rodgers, I mean, even if he gets his demand of the firing of the general manager, he is still going to be gone. Now, to where, I don't know. Because I do, okay. I mean,
Washington would be great. You and I would love it if it was Washington.
Yeah, but I don't see him going there.
He won't. No, he's not going to go to Washington, but that would be absolutely lovely.
He might.
It'll be Denver or Vegas. I'd put money on it. If I had to put money on it, that's the two.
Well,
Denver or
Vegas.
Vegas.
Maybe they trade Fitzmagic over to the Packers.
And he's the backup
And a couple
for Love.
picks.
He's the backup for Love.
Yep, and they do that little mentoring tandem there. And Rodgers comes over here with Heineke.
I don't think there's really any team that has, like, out of the teams that want quarterbacks, you have to look at something that has movable pieces. I think Washington has movable pieces. Denver does. I don't think Vegas does.
Who do you mean from Washington? Not that front seven.
They're not going to move any of their defensive guys. They love them. Potentially picks. They do have a lot of. I think they have a lot of future picks.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they do have some good amount of picks. And
maybe listen to this dark horse. They send him to the Eagles.
I think they like Hurts though.
They do like Hurts, and I like Hurts too.
I like Hurts too. I loved him in college.
Maybe they change it. Maybe they swap for swap. Rodgers for Ryan.
That's incredibly interesting and weird. Mm-hmm. What about the Giants? What about the Giants?
No, they're awful.
No, they're bad, but they need it.
Who did they draft?
They drafted. They traded back. They traded back, and they took somebody that they could have taken way later.
They took Kadarius Toney.
Yep, they could have taken him later. Yeah, he's good, but he wasn't a first rounder.
So yes, there were some reaches.
Yeah, there were some
Leatherwood for the Raiders, but anyway, yes, Rodgers is gone. He'll be signing with
It'll
Jeopardy
be interesting where he goes
for a lifetime contract to take it over.
Now
my prediction.
When you're with the Colts right now, could have maybe gotten Rodgers.
Okay, but they wanted Prince Harry. They get Prince Harry and his
scepter.
Well,
yeah, that's Reich's boy.
That's what they get.
That's Frank Reich's
boy. They get his scepter and his crown and his throne and pack him up all the way out of Philadelphia, and they send him over to Indianapolis. But he just took I-70 out. But anyway, so we're going to move on. Enough Aaron Rodgers and discount double checking with him. We are going to move on to the NFL draft and talk about our class, the pick rankings here and our grades
Let's do the top 10.
The top 10. Grades for the top 10. All right, so we're going to obviously start off with the number 1 pick, Trevor Lawrence to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ryan, what's your grade?
A+, I think. Sometimes...
I think we're in concurrence about that.
Well, I'm saying, sometimes the simplest move is the right move.
Duh.
I know a guy who was like, well, what if he takes Fields and goes the Ohio State guy? He's not. He's not an idiot.
No.
Trevor Lawrence is the best college prospect in the last 20 years, potentially. Him and Andrew Luck are the big two. Him and Luck are the two big ones.
How are they the two? Okay, well, we got 2004, the pinnacle of those 3 quarterbacks. Roethlisberger.
Well, no, I'm saying coming right out of college. Like, coming right out of college. I'm talking about being a full set. I think coming out of college, day 1, Lawrence is better than everyone potentially other than Luck.
Okay.
Day 1, Roethlisberger, like Roethlisberger walking.
Roethlisberger didn't start his
exactly.
First game.
That's what I'm saying.
But Eli and Uncle Phil did.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be better than Lawrence.
No, Uncle Phil didn't because he hadn't been traded yet.
Yeah, you're right.
Brees had not left in free agency. Brees hasn't played yet. But
I'm saying out of quarterbacks that are complete players that you barely have to develop out of college, Trevor Lawrence is one of the top 5 best you've ever seen out of college. So it's A+ move, especially because Meyer hasn't shown himself to create NFL.
And how long is Urban Meyer's contract there? 10 years?
It's a pretty big deal.
I think
they love him.
I think it's going to be interesting.
I think Urban's going to be
retire for a heart issue again. I seem like that heart gets better, more money that he's given. So I don't know.
We've seen a resurgence of college coaches doing better. I'm saying Matt Rhule's did a pretty good first season with the Panthers.
I'm pretty sure he went 4-12.
Well, I'm saying he made good moves. I loved their draft. We'll talk about that one later. Cliff Kingsbury almost made the playoffs. Like, there's more of an acceptance of the college players. So I'm very intrigued. Jacksonville's going to be in my top 10, maybe even top 5 most interesting teams to watch this year.
I agree. I think they're going to be interesting.
They're not going to win their division.
Sunday ticket
they're not going to win their division.
Well, I'm going to give them a dark horse, though. I'll be they're the dark horse.
If the Colts fall apart, that division's wide open because I think the Colts and the Titans are the main two.
Obviously.
Texans aren't going to make anything.
Well,
Texans
guess what? We're
going
to play over-under next week. Over-under 2 teams in the playoffs for the AFC North and for the AFC South. We're going to see what you say about that one.
Our NFL draft preview coming in August will be incredibly interesting. We got
NFL season preview.
Yeah, NFL season preview.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Before things get crazy in my schedule, might have to get a guest host by then. Might be Jeopardy time.
Might be hopping in the guest while Quinn's gone. What's your grade?
I concur. It's an A+ because it is. Why would you not do it? I mean, it's obviously the rumors were true. Nobody can leapfrog you to it when you're doing with the rumors because you're the number 1 pick. So they had a fistful of picks there. I'm gonna actually give a shout out to their second pick, which is 25th overall with Travis Etienne. Now they got that backfield paired back together.
I agree with that
like
pick.
having James Robinson there as the number 2 pick.
Yes, I agree with. I like that pick, but I think they should have traded back and gotten more picks because they could have gotten him at the beginning of the second round, and they have the first pick of the second round.
They could have.
So I'm saying if you were really in love with Travis, you could probably trade it back to like maybe the second round, 10th or 11th pick in the second round, and I'll talk about it more in a bit. I'm a firm believer in once you're out of the first 2 rounds, more swings at the plate. Just try to get as many picks as possible. Instead of, because odds are that one guy you like in the 3rd round isn't going to be as valuable as drafting 5 guys in the 4th round. So I'm saying once you get out of the first 2 rounds, I think it's definitely a quantity over quality because it's just you're trying to get that lucky spot. So I'm a firm believer in trading back if you think you can do it.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to number 2 overall pick, which was Zach Wilson to the New York Jets. Jets.
Good pick, and I really liked their draft. They're one of my top 5 favorite drafts.
Great.
But my grade for them would be a B+.
B+, okay.
I think it's a really good pick. He's got a lot of upside. He's going to be solid, but I think he's got the potential to be just pretty good. Whereas Trey Lance, I think, is big boom or bust. Trey Lance could be...
You're skipping ahead of yourself.
Yes, I am. But I'm saying this is a quarterback-heavy draft, especially in the first, 15.
3 picks.
First 3 picks are all quarterbacks.
Number 1.
First 15 picks
got 5.
5. So a third of the first 15 picks were quarterbacks. So obviously I'm going to talk about the other ones in comparison. Wilson's a good pick. If they would have taken Fields, I don't think people would have flipped out. If they would have taken Lance, and people would have been surprised but not have flipped out. It's probably the best pick.
Flipped out of Mac Jones.
From a safety. People would have flipped out if they took Mac Jones.
Yes.
From a safety perspective, it's the best pick. It's just Fields and Lance, I think, have a lot of upside too. So in retrospect, he might end up being the 3rd or 4th best quarterback. But right now, looking in, good safe pick, and I liked the rest of their draft. They're building around him well.
I'm just kind of disappointed you gave him a B+. I'm going to give him an A.
Really?
Give him an A.
Okay,
for the New York Jets
I like him.
I like Zach Wilson, and I think Zach Wilson could have been, if Trevor Lawrence, I know Trevor Lawrence is a complete package.
Oh, are you going to say it?
I am going to say it.
Oh,
I
boy.
want to see Zach Wilson succeed more than Trevor Lawrence.
I want to see Zach Wilson.
That's what I want to see.
I want to see Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson and Trey Lance succeed better than Trevor Lawrence.
Actually, the guy I want to see the most, you're going to maybe get hate on me. I want Mac Jones to do the best because I just think it'd be fun after everybody called him A.J. McCarron, and then Wilson, and then Lance.
It's going to turn out to be, though. It's going to turn out to be. Alabama quarterbacks are never good. Anyway, they're not.
That's why I'm saying.
Whatever.
I want to see Mac Jones do well, and I want to see Wilson and Lance.
Yeah.
Lawrence, it feels like he's going to be good no matter what I think.
He'll do well.
And then Fields, I'm not the highest on.
Yeah.
People seem to be very cold and hot with him.
I think finally the Chicago Bears made a wise decision at quarterback.
That's a great pick for them. I'm just saying, I'm
not
all in on Fields. I don't think you are either. Neither of us were huge Fields backers.
I'm not on either.
He's got a lot of potential, but I don't think it's gonna snap in the NFL. I think Jones. The only place I saw Jones being an MVP level player was with the Patriots. So
we're gonna see. He seems like a system QB. So
he's a system quarterback, and that's what Bill wants. That's why I wanted Gropp, which is why I never understood why the Niners wanted him when they already have a system QB in Gropp. Go for the potential guy, which is what they did.
They did.
We moving over to that?
We're going to move over to that because I'm going to give my grade first on this one because I correctly predicted it last week.
Yes, you did.
I did. And Ryan was giving me grief the whole time. But with the third pick, San Francisco 49ers selected Trey Lance, and I am very pleased with this selection because this is what I wanted. He's raw talent there. He's a dual threat quarterback. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to have a lot of fun plugging there. My grade is going to be an A+ if I can go any higher on this one because it was probably the best pick outside of my own teams in the first round.
I would go A+. I'm going to go A just because I don't want to get too high off of it because there is that chance he doesn't work out, but I truly believe this was the best place for Trey Lance, the best move for the Niners. To be honest, I think it's a great move when you're Jimmy Gropp because they're going to start him and have him run that Alex Smith-Mahomes thing. Yeah, there's been a lot of Mahomes comparisons for Lance. Not as much on the skill level with that physicality.
Right.
I love Trey Lance. I think he's the more interesting player than Fields when it's talking about the guy who has all the physical tools. I think he's more interesting.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, you're not on Twitter right now, but on Twitter there's an advertisement with Chase Young and Justin Fields. Chase Young coming back to Columbus and then running around sponsoring for Chipotle. How it helps him recover. So anyway.
Really?
Yep, fuel. It's fuel for the body.
Huh.
They're running around Columbus.
I'm not a big Chipotle guy, to be honest.
I don't go to Chipotle that much either, but I hear good things.
I do hear good things, too.
All right.
Anyway, I like the chips. That's all I really eat.
Yes, I do like the chips and the salsa, too. Anyway, back to Lance. Any last remarks on Lance?
I would go A+, like I said, but it's a little too early to tell, but I think he has the potential to be the best quarterback selected.
Right.
He's great. And that's a great pick when you're the Niners because you just set yourself up potentially for your next 15 years of quarterbacks.
Yes.
Between these two guys.
Yeah.
And you could eventually move Gropp for pieces.
Yes, you could.
So, yeah, that's a great move.
Potentially. And then with the fourth pick, Atlanta Falcons took Kyle Pitts. And what's your grade on that one, Ryan? What is it?
Potentially the best player in the draft, but you got to go quarterback when you need a quarterback. But that's an A+ move. If you keep him with your franchise, you're going to have potentially the best tight end of the next 10 years on your team. It's going to be him and Kelsey because Gronk's going to have to retire within the next 4 to 5 years. So
I think less than that. Whenever Brady's
or less than that.
Gronk's
Whenever Brady's done, Gronk's done because they're buddies.
Gronk's done.
And so him and Kelsey will be the two best tight ends unless somebody else comes up. Pitts is great. Now they have an incredible receiving core. Maybe Matt Ryan can put together a big season. I hope not because they're in the same division as the Panthers.
I hope they do.
But, okay, if the Falcons did well...
Arthur Blank stops getting on field in the fourth quarter when they have a lead. Please, Mr. Blank, will you listen to me now? Quit getting on the field in the fourth quarter.
I would enjoy to see them do well, I'll admit. They're fun to watch do well. Whenever Matt Ryan's clicking,
that's
they're
going to be a
entertaining.
tough division there in the NFC.
Oh, my gosh, I know. When the Saints might be the weakest team this year, which has never happened.
Yeah, but look, listen to this. Can they sweep all the wild card spots there? You know the NFC East is only bringing one team.
Yeah.
Okay. NFC West. Oh, that's a tough division.
The NFC
I
West.
cannot wait to see them battle it out. It's going to be South versus West in the NFC.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are a good wild card. Have a good wild card chance. The Niners, I think, might have a slower year, but I would still give them a wild card chance. Rams, I think, are winning the NFC West. I think the Seahawks could potentially take a step back. Cardinals, I think, are going to make a wild card.
I think they're going to stay up.
Yeah, so Cardinals or Rams would be my pick out of the NFC West, but then there's only one wild card spot left. So maybe NFC South is Falcons, Panthers? Maybe?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm writing off the Saints.
You got Bucks winning NFC South.
Yeah, I guess Bucks got to win it. So maybe the Panthers don't make it or the Falcons don't make it.
Yeah.
Somebody's not making it.
It's going to be an interesting one. All
right.
Yes, but Kyle Pitts, I will give him an A- here.
A-.
All the rumors were that Matt Ryan was on the hot seat. And going to be gone. So, they're not in a dire state at quarterback yet. Matt Ryan's still got a good handful of years left for him. So I give it an A- because I think Kyle Pitts, again, is a very good receiver. He doesn't block well. That's where tight ends, as a Steelers fan, I'm very big on Heath Miller tight ends that block very well in the first and second downs, and then they come back and are able to be that check down safety net on third down when it's time to get out of a jam for a quarterback. But back to Ryan.
Here's my one thought I just wanted to use to wrap up this point. When there's a player like Pitts who has the potential to be an incredibly special player, I think that's the move because let's say Ryan doesn't do the best this season, they don't have the best year. Next year you go out and you get the guy for Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler. You go out and you get Spencer Rattler or there's a lot of hype around the UNC quarterback. I can't remember his name either. North Carolina's quarterback. He's apparently pretty good too. So I'm saying this was the big year for quarterbacks. But because of that, you'd think that next year, potentially, there's not as much of a market for quarterbacks. So if Atlanta might be able to get those, and you've got an incredible receiving core now. So I think it's a good long-term move. That's why I gave it an A+.
Okay. I see. All right, moving on to the 5th pick, and Ryan was correct on this one, so I'll give it to him here. Cincinnati Bengals selected Jamar Chase out of LSU. Ryan, what's your grade?
B. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, wow, how such a good pick. They're going to get Burrow killed. I think there's a much better chance of signing a competent O-lineman than finding a receiver as good as Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm. He is a incredible talent. I think he's this draft's Justin Jefferson. Not just because they're both LSU graduates and I love that team, just because they're both very, very like NFL-ready wide receivers. He has the potential to be not AFC Rookie of the Year. They don't even split a conference anymore. They just do it straight up. I think he's got potential to be the Rookie of the Year. With Burrow, Burrow's going to have a really good year with him.
He could be Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, easily. I'd mark that down right about now. And
mark it. Somebody write it out there.
Somebody write it down.
Chad, write it.
And then I also find it fun, the first 3 wide receivers selected are all paired with their college quarterbacks, because Jalen Hurts played with Smith, and then Jalen Waddle obviously played with Tua, and Jamar and Burrow. I think Chase is the best wide receiver in the draft at the moment. That's what I put money on. And we know Burrow's a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. We've watched him.
See how fast he recovers.
That just makes that Bengals team quickly becoming a more dangerous team in the AFC North, making the AFC North, in my opinion, the best division in pro football.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun division. I will agree with the B, because it's not about. I think they should have drafted a lineman here, because
I understand that point.
That is, and I gave that point last week. They should have been drafting Sewell. Penei Sewell from Oregon.
I apologize for pronouncing his name wrong. You don't hear there's not a lot of hype around him from people don't really talk about him much. It's just kind of well known that he's good.
And said Sewell.
Yeah, I said Sewell, so apologize. I was going to apologize for that. Apologies.
I think I stuck to Penei last week because I didn't want to say
incorrectly.
I didn't have time to look it up before. But
I'm saying there was just kind of he was just accepted as being good, and there wasn't a lot of talk about him. He was like, yeah, he's good. So it wasn't like I heard it out. Yeah, people didn't really talk about him much because they was like, well, exactly. He's gonna be a top 10 pick, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. But yes, I think they should have taken Sewell to place a tackle. They need a better O-line. We'll see what the Bengals bring up. I think if it's non-successful year, I think even with an improvement, if it's not above 500, they have to fire Zach Taylor and get a new coach in there.
I think that's potentially the move. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. So.
Yeah, and you said that last week too.
I think I did. Yep. Okay. I don't know. I can't.
I'm saying we're hammering home the Zach Taylor firing, and I do like him as I think he's obviously a competent coach. It's just, can he be the guy who gets Joe Burrow a Super Bowl and Jamar Chase going rings in the college and rings in the Super Bowl? I don't know.
Right. I don't know. But it comes from the Sean McVay system, so that's all we can explain. But anyway, into the 6th pick, the Dolphins, obviously, as Ryan alluded to, selected Jalen Waddle. What's your grade on Waddle?
I had a few people telling me they were going to take Waddle instead of Smith, and I doubted them. I was wrong. It's a really good pick. He's, I think, more NFL built than Smith. My only drawback with him is Smith has obviously shown to have an incredible drive and off-the-field mentality that I think is going to help him in the NFL. That's something people don't talk about as much. And so, he weighs 165 pounds or something crazy. Smith does. Devonta Smith. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's my only drawback with Waddle is there's a potential for them to look back and go, dang it, Devonta Smith was there. But I think Waddle will be great for Tua, and this is really the year for Tua where it's is he the guy? So I'm going to give this one I'm going to give it another, we'll go B+. We'll go B+. My first B+ of the podcast so far. So B+, good pick. That's about it.
I'm going to go with a B- actually here because...
You wanted Sewell?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were going to take Devontae Smith.
So did I.
So, and the reason I do give the B- right now is because Jalen Waddle did have that injury at the end of the college football season. I just haven't. There's still a big question mark on how he's recovered and how he is health-wise. So I think it's a little bit of a risk for the Dolphins. They did need another good receiver. So I am interested to see how it plays out. Again, Dolphins, another... they missed the playoffs last year, so it's another attractive team to actually look out for in the NFL season when it comes up.
Yep.
I really like Brian Flores. Guess what? They are going to be my pick. This is an early pick right now. My pick to win the AFC East.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you because
I think they're going to upset the Bills.
I think
Josh Allen's got to get in shape there.
I'm a little worried about the Bills being a Lamar Jackson scenario where you lit the world on fire your first season, and then people started figuring out how to defend you and you slow down.
They will. They will.
I think they're a Lamar Jackson scenario.
I think for now, I think they're going to do well again this season.
I'm not saying the Bills are bad.
They haven't figured it out
I'm not saying the Bills are bad.
He has quit running as much, but he also has changed his footwork and his arm strength, so Josh Allen is a better passer. They're going to figure him out probably for the season for 2022.
I'm saying I think the Bills are an amazing football team, but I don't think they're going to be able to replicate. I don't think they'll be able to replicate the success of last year again. I think they're going to take a step back before we see them take a step forward. That's my thought.
We'll see. Well, I don't know. We don't know yet.
No, we legitimately don't know. But I think the Dolphins. We know that Flores. He's more of a defensive coach. So.
Yeah, but the defense is good there.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
So.
And they got the other Josh Allen to sack Josh Allen. The defensive end they have, Josh Allen. You didn't know that?
When they get him.
They've had him for a couple of years. He's really good.
Are you sure? Because I'm very sure he was on the Jags. From Kentucky? Josh Allen from Kentucky?
Oh, he's on Jags. You're right.
Yeah.
I got it confused. Florida teams.
So, all right. Moving on to the 7th overall pick, which was by the Detroit Lions. Or if you want to go with the French pronunciation, it's Detroit. And the Lions selected Penei Sewell, and as we talked highly about him, I'll go first with my grade this time. That's fine. I'm going to give them an A- here for the Lions because I think they should have went defensively. They have a lot of holes on defense, or a receiver. They should have taken Devontae Smith. Because they don't have a number one receiver anymore with Galladay leaving. I don't know if Marvin Jones Jr. is there anymore either. So they are really have a bare cupboard there in the receiver line. So we'll see what the Lions do. They're rebuilding a little bit. They still got Hawkinson as a tight end. I think Goff, I know Ryan disagrees that Goff won't be there for long. I hope he is going to be there for a few seasons. Hopefully,
I'm starting to come around to him being the starter for a couple years. I'm starting to come around.
They need to turn around that organization.
I'm coming around.
The Lions have always had a sorry reputation for having one very good player and not a good supporting cast around them. So hopefully that changes. But over to Ryan for his grade on
I think
Sewell.
it's an A+. I think this really pushes the idea that let's see what Jared Goff can do. If it doesn't pan out, maybe they go get the Spencer Rattler pick next year. They're keeping their options open, and I think you got to build a team before you either find a franchise quarterback and build the team, or you build the team and find the franchise quarterback, and maybe Goff is that guy. And I think this is a really good move for them on all boards. They took the best player available, and that's what they were going to do regardless. And so I think it's a great pick, A+.
Right. So moving on to the 8th pick, and Ryan's going to have to ad-lib a lot about this for his Carolina Panthers. They selected J.C. Horn, cornerback from South Carolina. What do you got to say about J.C.?
I'm going to go A-.
Okay.
Here's why. So I've done a lot of research immediately as soon as he was picked. Well, let me run you through what was happening in my head at the time. Because so the draft starts. I'm like, all right. So the Niners took Lance. Okay. Pitts went. All right. Waddle, bit surprising. All right. So I'm like, they're going to take Sewell at 7. They took Sewell at 7. So then I'm sitting there, and Chase, of course, went to the Bengals, and I was like, that's what I expected.
Right.
And I was happy I was right.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, so Fields is on the board. I know that Matt Rhule really liked Mac Jones, but I don't think that's the move. I don't think that's where he's going. I feel like once Mac Jones went away from the Niners, I felt like he was going to the Patriots, which, side note, I think that's the perfect matchup, him and Belichick, like I already said. But we'll talk about that later. Probably not even today. That'll be in our NFL season preview. I am very excited for the Patriots this season. I'll be very interested in them.
I'm never excited for the Patriots.
I don't like them. I'm just saying it'll be incredibly interesting. Incredibly interesting.
It's about time for Belichick to retire anyway.
And
he's in his 70s.
I think he's going to get like 1 or 2 seasons of Mac, then probably head out.
We'll see.
So what I was saying is I basically did a lot of research on Horn, and basically what I've boiled it down to is Surtain is the better corner, but Horn has more potential. He's the more upside, whereas Surtain is a better floor. So I really like the pick. We definitely use this draft to boost our defense. I'm going to go deeper into all the moves they made later. But I really like what Scott Fitterer is doing, and Matt Rhule, our head coach and our GM. I said that reverse. Matt Rhule's the head coach. Fitterer is the GM. And the Panthers organization is completely turning around the way they do things. They're being a lot more competent. I think they think they're savvy, and I think they're savvy too. We'll have to see what happens with this Horn pick. But I think it's a great move on all fronts. I'm really glad we didn't go for the QB. And I think this really hit home the point that we think Darnold's the guy, and if he's not, we'll get another guy. So I like the move. I think it's much better to stick with Darnold, stick to your guns, especially if Rhule likes him. I trust him. So we really bolstered the defense this draft, and that was just the start of that Horn pick, and I thought that was a really good read. And some people have been saying that was probably a better pick over Surtain.
I'm going to give the Panthers an A on this because I agree. They really are just like how the Lions are bare bones in the receiver category, bare bones in the DB category here for the Panthers. So they are looking to upgrade that defense. Their offense has some decent weapons. The line's decent. They're going to have a decent quarterback. That's probably going to help them. Hopefully that'll help them out a little bit. They're going to hopefully have Christian McCaffrey back in full health this season.
Yes, the best running back in the NFL.
That would be key to their success. So I definitely think it upgrades the defense. It helps them on the back end. It'll be interesting to see how Matt Rhule develops his defense this year. They need to evolve a little bit better. They gave away some leads at the end of games, so I'll be interested to see what happens. But we'll just see what Coach Rhule has to say.
Incredibly excited. I'm really excited. We were one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and I think we're going to take a huge step up and be one of the best.
Right. That's all you can.
I'm hoping.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Exactly.
Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. Let's go.
Like the Drake song.
Yes.
I think there was. I'm not going to say. I'm not going
to put the clip in of Alex Trebek rapping that.
Yes, we'll put in the Alex Trebek clip. Do you want me to keep this in or you want me to cut this? Us talking about it.
You just keep it in.
You'll just keep this in? All right. So, quick thing. I will say, this is me gonna.
I don't know. When you plug the clip in, you just figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
Anyway.
I'll probably keep this in. This is fun banter.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
This is, I think, best case scenario. The Panthers have potential to be. I don't know if they'll reach this, but the Niners 3 years ago went 4-12. 2 years ago. Well, I guess it'd be 2 years ago they went 4-12, and then a year ago they were in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So I
don't know if that's it.
I don't know if that's possible, but I'm saying it was a lot of defense bolstering. It was a lot of defense bolstering.
Anything can happen if you let it, Mary Poppins.
Exactly.
So there you go.
So I'm saying I don't know if the Panthers are able to do that. I'm just saying I am kind of getting those vibes. We're really bolstering the defense. Right. And we don't have like an incredible quarterback, but we got good receivers, and so I'll go into that more later. Yeah. Let's move on.
Moving on to the 9th pick, the Denver Broncos selected Pat Surtain II, quarterback from Alabama. What is your grade on this?
I think there's a caveat of this one, but I'm going to say B-. Okay. Caveat, though, is if they get Aaron Rodgers, like I do think is possible, moves up to an A. Because I think that's really good for them.
It's enticing.
Yes, exactly. Whether they move him or they keep him, it's a good pick. You know he's going to be good. Corners usually don't fall apart in the NFL. If you're good in college, you're usually pretty good in the NFL. So, especially top 10 corners. Like Jalen Ramsey's a recent example. He's killing it in the NFL like he killed in college. So, it's a good pick on all boards. The reason I'm going B-, though, is if they don't get a quarterback, and I'm not a huge Drew Lock fan, you're really hurting yourself.
But I think they can develop him still.
I think he's developable. I'm not. I just don't know if he has the ability.
They gotta get away from Fangio.
Yeah. The goal of the NFL or really any sport is to win a championship. And I don't know if Drew Lock is a championship quarterback.
Isn't any sport?
Yeah, it's every sport. So that's what I'm saying is if they get Aaron Rodgers, A. If they don't, B-, because they had the potential with Fields on the board and Mac Jones. I think they should have taken Fields if they don't get Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to give the Broncos here a B+ on this.
Okay.
I like the Surtain pick. They also needed help also in the defensive backfield. So pair him. I believe Justin Simmons is still there.
I think so too,
Pair him in the defense. I know he's a safety. He can add another quality starter there to the backside. And that Denver defense is better than their offense, so that's their better asset, especially Von Miller coming back from injury this season.
Let's hope he's the same.
Yeah, so hoping he's the same. Pair him with Bradley Chubb on the opposite side. I think it's going to be an interesting year for the Broncos again, just like a couple other teams we've talked about already in this episode, that they blew a lot of leads at the end.
Yep.
So hopefully they'll get that together.
I have one thing to say. I was thinking about this with my Rodgers thing. If the Rodgers really goes to Vegas or Denver, the AFC West becomes incredibly interesting.
It does.
Because
Now
obviously,
you got him up against Mahomes.
the
You
Chiefs
got
are
him against Mahomes.
I feel like the Chiefs are a lock to make the playoffs because they're like,
Maybe not with Rodgers then.
and Rodgers is now there, and I really liked what the Chargers did in the draft. They're not going to win the division.
What if it happens?
They could win.
What
They could get a
if-
wild card. I'm
what
telling
if
you.
Mahomes still gets destroyed because of the new line, and they just can't protect him either?
I don't think that's
And he's
going to
got
happen.
he's got
Yeah.
the baby weight on from the pregnancy because he had, the dad,
Yeah.
so they put the weight on too. So maybe
Sympathy.
He's slowing down.
I don't think I love Mahomes.
He only ran a 4.840 when he was in the combine.
Yeah. He's not a. He runs like
He's
a big boy runner. He is not a sprinter.
I don't know.
He's not the Trevor
He's not
Lawrence
gonna run.
Ohio State run.
He looks awkward. He looks awkward running because as a runner myself, as a former runner myself, and you're a runner too, running form, we know what running form is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy.
He gets away with it though. He gets away with it.
He does.
He does not have the Lamar Jackson run.
Defense
He does not have the Lamar
totally
run.
Plays to the tendency of him making the throw on the runs.
What I'm saying though is that division's incredible. I love the Chargers and I love what Herbert's done there. They need more love. Everybody in LA needs to stop liking the Rams and like them, or just watch football in general.
Right. Or
So,
just move back to San Diego.
I would much rather have him move to San Diego. San Diego is the
Stadium still there?
San Diego.
think
It's
it
pretty
is.
crap though. It's a really bad stadium. That's why they
Well,
left.
let's get a new one.
Yeah, just hopefully the mayor of San Diego. This is my
Raise
plea
the
to you.
taxes and get a new one.
Bring him back because everybody likes Herbert. Incredibly fun team. They got Slater, which I think is a great pick for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the Chargers could be potentially a wild card. I wouldn't put it against them. Make the playoffs. Chiefs, you think would make the playoffs, and then you throw in Rodgers. That's an incredibly strong division.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Be interesting.
we'll have to see.
Yes, we will have to see. Moving on to the last pick of the first 10 overall. With the number 10 pick, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Devontae Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. I'll close out this one if you want me to.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to give them an A+ on this one because I really like this pairing. Eagles have not had a number one receiver, a true number one receiver in a while. That's what Smith is going to be for them. And I think I like Jalen Hurts. I really like Jalen Hurts. So I'm hoping
Me too.
that with the new coach, even though do not know this guy from Adam because he came out of nowhere, and really they should have waited for Eric Bieniemy, and he could have developed Jalen Hurts a lot better, in my opinion.
Why did no one sign Eric? I'm not over that.
NFL needs to change the rules on that because
Eric Bieniemy should have been
anyway,
signed. Eric Bieniemy should have been signed.
I agree. So I think anyway, but I think it's going to be a good pairing for Hurts to be back with Smith. I'll be interested to see what happens. I think the Eagles are going to get some more high-profile games hopefully this year with the new look.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an A+. Everything you just said is
thank you.
how I felt. So
is your grade also an A+?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A+. Literally everything you just said.
Wow.
Devontae Smith's Heisman. Everybody that has met him says how great he is, both on and off the field.
Right.
He's gonna be good. He might be even amazing.
Right.
So great pick across the board.
Yes.
They definitely made a good choice by trading up. And I think the Cowboys made a savvy move by trading back.
Yeah.
And I don't like the Cowboys, so it's pretty nice of me to say that.
Right. All right, moving on. Right now, I'm sorry that I slotted Ryan here with the Browns. But if you want to change to the Panthers, you're welcome to.
I can talk about the Browns because I have some thoughts on what the Browns did. The Browns actually...
Ryan's going to give his grade on the Browns whole draft. Go.
I'm going to give them a B+.
All right.
I really liked what they did. They didn't go very sexy. They did catch one wide receiver trying to pull him up. Could you do that for me?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name all of a sudden. He was quite the underrated. I heard people talking. There was some hype around him. So the first round...
Anthony Schwartz from Auburn.
I think so. Let me just look at their draft haul really quick. So in the first round, who was their first round?
Greg Newsome.
Greg Newsome, yes.
The second.
I thought that was a good pick. You're going to pair him with Denzel Ward. That's a scary backfield people throwing. You need that in division with Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Burrow, and
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, you really don't need that for. But they got that inside linebacker for Notre Dame that I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name of. So he was projected in some mock drafts to go in the first round. He fell. That was a nice move.
Yes.
Schwartz,
Jeremiah.
like you said, the wide receiver. He was
Jeremiah Owusu.
Yes.
I cannot pronounce his last name, but
They also got an Ohio State guy, and in the 4th round, and people always like to see that. But they ended up going. They went 2 wide receivers, 1 offensive tackle, 1 defensive tackle, 2 inside linebackers, 1 safety. So a lot of defense, and then some O-line. I think that's really the right move for them. I was really impressed. It's not a wow draft. It's just like, hey, that was nothing but solid picks. So not like my favorite draft, but I think they're definitely top 3 or top 5 for me. I really liked what they did. There was just a couple teams that I think made some better moves, and I'll tell you my favorite after you talk about the Steelers.
all right. Steelers, I'm going to agree with your same grade. I'm going to give a B+ on the Steelers. Obviously, different team.
Good job getting Harris.
I thought the first pick, obviously, getting Najee Harris was the best pick that Steelers had. What I did disagree with, though, even though they had, and I cannot pronounce his last name, but Pat F., he'll be Pat F. out of Penn State, tight end. I disagree with drafting a tight end that early. And I think that's what ricochets, if you see the Steelers holding off on Pat, that ricochets, and they probably have either Hunter Long or Tommy Tremble there in the 3rd round instead.
I really like Tommy Tremble.
I thought they would go for a center there, either with Creed Humphrey.
Was Creed Humphrey on the board then?
Creed Humphrey was on the board.
Oh!
Either Creed Humphrey or go with a tackle. Either center or tackle.
I like Creed Humphrey. That's also a great
But
name.
I'm still going to agree with they did draft. Their first 4 picks were on offense like they should have been. Running back, tight end, center, tackle. I knew it. The whole world knew it that those were the 4 biggest needs for the Steelers. So I'm glad they did that. Still drafted 2 linebackers. Steelers know how to develop the linebackers, so that makes me happy. They also got a steal, I believe, in Presley Harvin III, punter from Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Who led the NCAA in net punt yards with 48 yards.
You got to have a good punter.
Yes, because you know what? That's actually what I was told once. Not I was told. My dad was told once. I believe it was by Terry. You know who Terry is.
Yeah.
But he said that the punt is the most impactful play in an NFL football game. It's all about field position.
Yeah, no, that's true. If you got a good punter, nice.
Yes.
That really helps you out.
So, but
Do you want to tell everybody your favorite draft, or you want me to go first for who I think had the best draft?
I forgot we were doing that, but yes, go
All right.
ahead.
So
wrapping up the draft for these last.
I think the Lions and the Panthers are my 2 favorites. And that's not just because I'm biased. I'll actually go into why. The Lions did a lot of little moves that I think will really pay off.
Okay.
They didn't go anything sexy. So I'm going to give them an A. But the reason I'm giving the Panthers my highest graded A+, not just because I'm a big fan, is they take J.C. Horn. They bolster the defense. 2nd round, they get Terrence Marshall Jr. from LSU. He was potentially a 1st-round talent. People are worried about him because he's had some injury history back in high school. If he can stay healthy, he's our 3rd wide receiver. Him, Robbie Anderson, and obviously DJ Moore. So that is a set wide receiver core. LSU wide receivers, we know in the last couple of years, have been absolutely incredible. So, LSU players in general that were on that 2019 team have just been.
Yeah.
All of them
Your
have.
favorite
All of them.
football team
Well, all
of
of them
all
have
time.
performed. All of them have performed.
Well, we haven't. Hold on. I'm going to give a case against Burrow real quick.
Oh, no. Don't do that.
You haven't seen a whole season yet.
That's true.
You have not seen a whole season.
I really like
So
Joe
when
Burrow.
see a
I
whole
think
season of Joe
he's great.
Burrow, I'm going to be happy.
I think he'll be great this season. So then they end up taking a tackle in Brady Christensen from BYU. This is when they traded back,
Mormons.
which I think, the Mormons. I love it. Like I said, once you get in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, it just swings at the plate, just trying to find that diamond in the rough. Quantity over quality is always my thought, because the chances are that one guy you like in the 4th round isn't as valuable as taking 3 guys in the 5th round. So that's what they did. They traded back. They got a tight end in Tommy Tremble, who I really like. Think he could be a good tight end. I'm not thinking Pro Bowl, but I really like what I've seen about him. And then Chuba Hubbard. Fun story. Did you hear about Matt Rhule? No, it's Chuba, I thought.
It's Chuba.
You sure?
Chuba Hubbard.
Well, then.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
It's
on
Chuba
ESPN.
Hubbard?
It's Chuba Hubbard.
I thought I heard Matt Rhule say Chuba. You're probably right. You usually know with the pronunciations. I usually mess them up.
It's because I'm an announcer. That's why.
Yeah, I usually mess them up. So Hubbard from Oklahoma State. Fun story. Matt Rhule's wife called him and said, "Hey, please take Hubbard. Please take Hubbard." And Matt Rhule's like, all right. So he called Hubbard and was like, hey, I'm going to take you, buddy. Because he was
Where
the
do you
running back
think-
for Oklahoma State. So
What
his
do you
wife
think?
had watched
You think
him
they
run.
have just a universal list of phone numbers they get, so they know where I can go.
You know, that's an interesting question. If everybody like submits a phone number for when you're drafted. I always like the story of how I think it was Hightower was in the bathroom when he got his call. And so I think it was his father took it and was talking to Belichick.
Okay.
His father took it and was talking to Belichick like he was Hightower. What is it? Chuba Hubbard?
Say it again, lady.
Chuba. All right, well, I'm sorry. I got to learn his name. I like the pick of Chuba Hubbard, but like I'm saying, I thought it was pretty funny that his wife called him.
Pronunciations list before we start these podcasts.
You're right.
We got to work on that.
Chuba Hubbard, running back from Oklahoma State. Usually those late round skill players end up sometimes turning out good, so I think that's a good pick. And he's obviously going to be behind CMC, so that's a nice move. We got a defensive tackle, and Davion Nixon, who was 158th overall, and he's a big boy from Iowa, and usually big boys from Iowa pan out pretty well.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying offensive line and like defensive tackles usually from Iowa pan out well. I like that move. Another cornerback in Keith Taylor. Haven't heard as much hype around him. And then a pick I really like, Deontay Brown from Alabama. He's massive. 365 pounds, 6'3".
65, 6'3".
If you can just make him, run plays,
Tackle?
he's a guard.
Guard, okay.
So I think that's a great pick. And then we picked up another wide receiver in Shai Smith. I think that's just one, he could potentially be the fourth wide receiver. Maybe he pans into something, maybe he doesn't. Then we get a long snapper with Thomas Fletcher. You don't usually see them drafted. So, Yep. And then
Again, specialist, yes.
Yep. And then the last pick was a defensive tackle from Kentucky. So I think it was just really they got all the needs. They didn't pick over. They got some guys I think are potential steals. They didn't overshoot on anybody. Every single guy they picked, I either was fine with or I was ecstatic about. And I think that's Terrence Marshall Jr. I think could potentially be a huge steal in the second round from LSU because he's had that injury history, or else he would have been potentially a first-round pick. So very excited about that. So that was my pick. And also, I think we just might as well mark it down now. If you are a second round or past that wide receiver that people think is underrated, just be prepared to be called A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf. That's what they do every time.
Yeah.
It's always, A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. It's always one of those two. It's always A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf. And I love DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, especially A.J. Brown, although my girlfriend's in love with DK Metcalf. And that's her favorite player. And
You better start pumping the iron, big boy.
yeah, we do look very different. And A.J. Brown, we're almost the same height. I think I'm almost the same height.
You're working on the height. You got to work on the muscle.
Yeah. And A.J. Brown and him are just the comparison every time, where it's really good late round pick, and that's always him for wide receiver. So, Quinn, who had your favorite draft?
Well, I am going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's a good pick.
Because
Yep.
they had a fistful of picks, and I believe it was 11, if I can count. Well, right
Panthers
now,
had
my phone
11.
is not
Panthers
loading.
did have 11.
So, hold on.
What was your grade?
I'm going to give them an A. I'm going to give them an A. And I will say,
Well, they obviously got the right pick with Lawrence.
I obviously got the right pick with Lawrence. They also and they paired him with ETN, which is great. But I believe they hit most of their needs for Urban Meyer's first year down there in Northeast Florida. So I'm getting ESPN to slowly load in here. Yeah. Moving on. Okay, and then they got, all right, and then they had some, yes, they filled their needs is what they needed. In the first five picks for the Jags, they hit all their needs. They needed a quarterback. They needed an offensive tackle. They didn't really necessarily need a running back, but they did. They took one. And then they also hit the defense. They needed the defensive backfield, which was bad. Took a cornerback and a safety. If we can get her flipped over
They
here.
did take Luke Farrell from Ohio State, yeah.
Ohio State, they needed a tight end as well. So,
He got his Ohio State guy.
yes, he did get a Ohio State guy. But I think Urban Meyer, he made the best he did out of his first NFL draft. I'm interested to see what he does developmentally down there at Jacksonville. So that's my opinion. But now that we're into the draft and we wrap that up, two more headlines where we play What's the Word and Toss Up today. Next, a couple weeks ago, missed this headline, and I apologize for that when producing this show. Kim Mulkey, the 3-time NCAA champion.
Yep.
By the way, only person ever person to win an NCAA basketball championship as a player, an assistant coach, and a head coach.
Wow.
Only person ever to do that. So, she left the top-notch program she created in the Baylor Bears and flipped over to LSU, where is her home state. She went to LA Tech, though. LA Tech actually had a very big, and by the way, LA Tech is Louisiana Tech. LA Tech had a very big, actually, women's basketball program.
Really?
They began the NCAA championship, an NCAA tournament in the 80s through 90s. They had a big old program there. So she's going back to her home state of Louisiana. But how does Baylor evolve here without Kim Mulkey? Do you see some players transferring?
I think Baylor's become a huge women's basketball powerhouse. They are arguably second to UConn. I think Stanford also is Stanford probably is the 2, but I do think Baylor's in that top conversation. Tennessee, I know you like your Tennessee,
Oh, yeah.
but they had a rough year this year. They had a rough year this year.
Yeah, they got bounced out early.
Yeah.
Even though they had a very
And
good
I do
triple
think that
turn
hurts
year.
them. I do think that hurts them. We've seen that recently with North Carolina and Duke taking steps back. So
Well, this is a step forward because they did better this year in the regular season. They just didn't get there in
That's true.
tournament. But,
yeah. So as I was saying, I think Baylor will end up finding a new coach. They'll still be successful, but I think LSU is really the real story here. If that becomes interesting, does she start pulling? Obviously, she's going to start
Yeah,
pulling
she might
5-star recruits to LSU. Are we going to have an LSU, women's #1 seed in a couple of years, or maybe next year?
We'll see what she develops there.
Exactly. I think
Right.
obviously with college coaching, usually your first 2 years, it's just you're recruiting more than anything, and then your 3rd, 4th years, that's when you start looking at titles. So
Right. I don't think she obviously has to build a foundation there, but I think she has a foundation just with her name recognition and her ability to recruit previously at Baylor. So that's what I'm
and Baylor had
interested
some
to see.
amazing players.
Yes, they did. Yep. You called out Carrington earlier this year. Carrington.
Yep, she's good.
Yeah, she's good. She's gone. She's senior. She went on.
Was she the one that I called out when?
Yes, she did.
And you were like, she's not even good. And then the next game
I
she
didn't
went off.
say that. I didn't say she wasn't good. It's just that you pulled her right out of your ass and said, hey, watch out for Carrington. She's the 6th man. And guess what? Then she ended up having a big game in the Sweet 16.
It's
right
the
after.
reverse curse.
Yes, the reverse curse. Usually Ryan's cursing everybody, but it was the reverse curse. But yes, I'm interested to see what Kim Mulkey does with that program with the Tigers down there. So, yeah, I think she's gonna change up the recruiting geography. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'll be looking forward to seeing who Baylor hires to fill her position in the near future. So, moving on to our last headline to wrap that up. As we all know, LeBron James coming back from his most recent injury, a high ankle sprain.
He's actually taking the next 3 games off because of it. He
for
came
rest.
back, and now he's taking 3 more off.
And
Yeah.
he came out and said that this was a career-changing injury. So, Ryan, is it significant that LeBron said
Absolutely.
that injury was career-changing?
Absolutely. I've been a big subscriber to the last couple years of appreciate LeBron while he's here, even though I really don't like Laker LeBron as much. Boo. I wish he wouldn't have left. But there is a real element where...
Okay, Varejao is signing with the...
Yes, I saw
What is
Varejao.
that?
I think that's just a nice thing to do. They're just like, hey, Anderson Varejao, you were on the... Back when we were bad, you were the cover athlete for us.
Exactly,
So you and Kyrie were the big... That's sad.
But anyway,
all right, anyway.
back to LeBron.
Back to LeBron, yes. Hilarious story of Varejao is when he plays for the Cavs, they lose to the Warriors in the finals. When he played to the Warriors, they lost to the Cavs in the finals. So that's just gold to me. But LeBron is going to go down as probably the 2nd best player of all time. You're going to give me a look, and I don't care. That will be the narrative everyone tells. If he doesn't win any more rings,
like the
it's starting to
narrative.
look, here's what I'm saying. It's starting to look like he's not going to break Kareem's record. And he's not gonna be able to get the rings.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed from me, that he is retiring
And he's not gonna be
before he
able-
breaks Kareem's record.
I think Davis is really the X factor here in LeBron's legacy because he's obviously gonna have to slow down, and he is trying to pass that torch of leading the Lakers to Davis. And I was listening to the Ringer NBA show that has a former NBA player, Raja Bell, on it, and he was saying it's like a sprint where LeBron's handing off the baton to Davis, and he's got to slow down, but Davis has got to be picking up steam, and he's got to start running, so then there's a smooth transition. And Davis hasn't been, speeding up. Davis has been playing that number 2 role still. So I think the Lakers are kind of in a bit of an issue. They've been playing terrible lately. They've actually been playing worse with LeBron and Davis than they were playing without them. So I think there's a good potential they don't make the finals, and hopefully the Jazz do, and hopefully the Sixers or the Bucks win the NBA Finals, because I would love that. So, yeah, I think this is a career-changing injury. We might have seen the last of peak LeBron. He's still going to play at least another year, but I think there's a better chance than ever that last ring was his last, and we're not going to see him break Kareem's record. So, another thing that made me a little bit mad is that he, the other day, it was last night, berated the idea of the play-in tournament for the playoffs.
Yes, we're going to bring that up in toss-up.
We're going to bring that up in toss-up. Okay. Well, then, we'll talk about that a bit, because I got stuff to say.
Yeah, and I think this definitely changes the Lakers' playoff chances. I have been crossing my fingers and toes that that LeBron does not break Kareem's career scoring record of 38,387 career points. So hopefully that does not happen. He might retire. Even if he plays one more season, I believe he would still not break it if he did not. Interesting, by the way. Just got a new headline that Aaron Rodgers is intrigued by the Las Vegas Raiders. We're going to move on there.
Wait. It wouldn't happen because it's not fun. It's too fun to happen. But Gruden's Raiders, Rodgers and Gruden together going against Brady. Oh man, that's just funny because the Bucks against Gruden and then Rodgers and Brady. Oh, that's great.
No, that's not
and
happening.
Arians, it won't happen.
No,
it won't. But that would be gold. The marketing rights itself.
Gold, Jerry.
Gold, Jerry. Gold.
All right, thanks, Banya. But anyway,
we'll be doing Seinfeld next week. We're doing an episode.
Yes, we're passing on Seinfeld tonight. But anyway, yes, I think it is. If he says it's career changing, and obviously those high ankle sprains are usually worse than a bone break or broken ankle. So, we'll see what the Lakers do, what LeBron does with the rest of his career. But we're gonna move on and play What's the Word for today's episode. And first, we're gonna start off in the MLB category. And Ryan, what's the word? The New York Yankees bottoming out in the AL East at the end of April is blank.
Hilarious. I'm enjoying it. Knowing how things go, they'll, end up making a wild card spot, but hopefully they don't, and I'll be pretty happy. And baseball will be at serenity. Serenity now, baseball.
Insanity later. My word is Miami Marlins-ish. Because Miami has always been the bottom of their division in the NL. So I think it resembles their ability. And on paper, the New York Yankees should be a better team. But injury history has dragged down Judge and Stanton. And it has
their whole career for Judge.
Yeah. So, I think it's they might as well just bring Paul O'Neill back or something, but
he'd catch one in his hat.
Yes, or hit 2 home runs for
exactly.
Bobby. But sorry, bringing up the wink like we did last week. But I think the Yankees, like I told Ryan earlier, last decade was the first decade ever the Yankees missed appearing in the World Series. So
and everyone was happy.
Things are not starting off too well in the 2020s.
Especially the
Yankees,
Giants fans. They were happy. I was saying that the other day. The Giants had an exceptional 2010s. The Giants and the Dodgers are the 2 most successful baseball teams of the 2010s. Because the Dodgers only win 1 World Series, but they're they were in the pennant much.
Right. Well, hold on. I got to throw the Red Sox in there for 2010s.
They did win 2. They won 2.
They did win 2.
The Giants have 3, though. Pretty sure they have 3.
I think they do.
Yeah, so the Giants really had a crazy run. Yep.
Yes, but
mad bum.
Moving on, for our last What's the Word, in the NBA, it is blank that the Phoenix Suns jumped the Utah Jazz for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
I'm going to go fun, because I really like the Suns, but a friend of mine was telling me, he's like, I think the Suns are just, he's like, I don't think the Suns are built for the playoffs. And I kind of see what he's saying. To me, the Suns, they're really fun because they're kind of just a souped-up version of the Hornets. And we all know I love the Charlotte Hornets. So I think it's actually a really good comparison. And I think they're a good team, but I like the Jazz more for the playoff. I think they're going to do a lot better. But the Suns, it'll be interesting. The West, I mean, to be honest, I think that if they get on the same side of the bracket as the Nuggets, I would watch out for the Nuggets to beat them in the second round because I really like what the Nuggets are doing. Jokic is potentially the MVP. It's him and Embiid. I think it's the race between them. I know Curry's got a good chance, but you know the MVP isn't going to be a guy who doesn't even make the playoffs. They're not going to do that. So, yeah, I think it's fun, but I'm not sold. Not sold on their playoff level. But as a regular season team, they're great, which is the classic Suns story. D'Antoni or not. Regular season, incredible. Postseason, not.
My word is going to be eclipsing because isn't it fun that we're talking about the Suns and they're eclipsing the Jazz?
That's great. That's great.
They are eclipsing. I think the Jazz, they had a recent injury to Donovan Mitchell, which has hurt them, his leadership, and him not being out there to do his playmaking.
It's hurt him too. So, he's injured.
Yes, obviously, literally and figuratively. So I think the Suns have a very high chance, and like I think I predicted, wasn't it? Did I say Suns 76ers? I think I did. For my
I would go.
So,
I'm
happy with what
I'm finally going to come off. I'm finally coming off that Lakers Nets thing because it's starting to look like the only reason I went with them, it's not really truly believed. I just felt like odds-wise, if I ran the playoffs 100 times, that's what would come out the most.
On paper.
But in
real
starting
life,
to go away from
injuries
that.
for both.
I think now it's borderline wide open, which is great. Makes for the best basketball. I think it's going to be Nuggets-Sixers. We're going to have big man on big man. And I would love that.
I see.
But that just might be my Sixers and Nuggets bias. I got a good friend of mine, big Nuggets guy.
Oh,
and
I don't know that.
Bryce really likes the Nuggets.
I
big
see.
Jokic fan.
I see.
So.
Yes. All right, now it's time for toss-up today, and it's a triple toss-up, which is rare. But in the NBA, who has a better chance to be in the play-in tournament on the Western Conference? The Dallas Mavericks, the Los Angeles Lakers, or the Portland Trail Blazers?
Easy. Blazers. Dame time. He's Damian Lillard. You know he'll just drop 50 each game and make sure they make it. He's gonna make the playoffs.
They're in.
He's gonna win that. He's gonna win that play-in tournament. He's Damian Lillard.
So you're saying the Blazers have a better chance than the other two to be in the play-in tournament?
You're saying to be in the play-in tournament?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not win it.
I'm saying to be in it. Regardless.
He's not going to be able to move up and jump up to get in the 16th.
He's Damian Lillard.
I know that, but he's not.
Okay.
But the Blazers aren't going to be able to.
You're
jump
saying
up.
to fall into it.
Right.
You're saying to fall into it. Okay.
Right.
I get confused. To fall into it, the Lakers are going to fall into it.
I should have written it.
This would be my pick. The Lakers will fall into the play-in tournament.
Okay.
And LeBron has been chastising it.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good. I just get confused by the question. I'm saying if the Blazers are in the tournament, they're totally winning that whole shebang. But the Lakers.
It doesn't matter. They have two come out. So why does it matter?
What?
They have two come out.
Yeah, two come out. They're gonna win. They're gonna win their games.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what you're saying.
So the Lakers, I think, have a good chance. LeBron is chastising it, which I find hilarious because I remember last year his exact words were, I believe to be, "I don't care. They can play each other for a 5-game series if you want." So he encouraged it, and now he says that whoever invented that needs to be fired. Well, he's just being salty because he has to play more games. So
possible.
And that.
I think he is.
That's totally what it is.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I mean, you're all right to be upset, but you better win the thing, dude, because you potentially are going to make the playoffs. And then then his play will be, well, if they didn't add this new rule, whatever. But the Warriors are an incredibly dangerous team to play in that play-in tournament because Curry's got that Damian Lillard thing where he'll just say, I'm making the freaking playoffs and drop 60.
Right.
So, Blazers and Warriors, if they're in the play-in tournament, I would put money on to win it. Whereas the Lakers, LeBron hurt and not being the same, I think they're the least. If they're in the play-in tournament, I think they're the most dangerous team to lose. Mm-hmm. And the Mavericks have Luka, who can also just say, I got it.
Right.
So, because when it comes to playing games like that, usually it's one guy saying, everybody move, we're going. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Lakers as well. And I think it's because, especially now with LeBron being out these next 3 games, it's going to hurt their chances of winning those. So,
well, they had 3 games they needed to win, and they went 0-3. Right. They lost to the Raptors.
Right.
The Raptors.
And the Lakers are hindered now by LeBron's injury, and that just compounds things. So they are going to be in the play-in tournament. I'm glad the Mavs and the Blazers are rising above
Go
the
Blazers.
play-in
Go
tournament.
Blazers.
And the Mavs looked awful in the beginning of the year, and they finally got things worked
Well,
out.
they do have one of the best players in basketball, Luka Doncic. I'm a
Yes,
huge Doncic fan. Even though he gets ejected he gets ejected like once a month.
Yeah.
He's got to get that together.
Didn't he get fined for after 5 technicals?
He
you
gets
gotta
in
get
trouble all
technical
the time.
ejected,
He gets in trouble all the time.
So.
But he's really good at basketball.
Yeah, so look out for the Lakers to be in that play-in tournament within the next couple weeks as the NBA tournament starts to rev up. But now we're on to Ryan's special section. Pretty happy time. Ryan, go ahead.
All right, so I thought about, because I've really enjoyed this first month of MLB baseball. I actually haven't been watching as much NBA as usual. The MLB season this year has been incredibly fun. We've talked about it multiple times. We really haven't much today because there's a bit of a break, and it's been very NFL draft heavy lately in my household and yours. So I've just really been enjoying the MLB season. There's been a lot of fun moments. A lot of bad ump calls, though, and I was going to go more into that. There was a really bad call where they said that the Brewers pitcher interfered, and that was a terrible call. And they also said Andrew McCutchen ran out of the baseline, not the baseline, but you know what I'm saying, the line you're supposed to run, the running line, if that would make sense.
Yeah, the baseline.
It'd be baseline?
Yeah.
But he didn't, and so there were some really bad calls. But then I decided that there was something more fun and more interesting than being negative, because you can go up and go to John Boy Media and watch his breakdowns of those bad calls.
John Boy, what is this, the Waltons?
It's his name. That's the channel name. He's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. They make baseball content. They're my favorite baseball content put out guys, and they're incredibly fun and interesting to watch. They've got one of the things they do is they break down like weird stuff that happens in baseball. So somebody gets ejected, he reads their lips and says what they said. It's really fun content. I really enjoy it.
I see.
So I decided to go with something more fun though, and that was Saturday night. This guy named Buck Army on Twitter tweeted, "Hey, at D-backs, my roommate is on a date 6 rows above home plate. Any chance we could tell the cameraman to zoom out a bit so I can see how it's going?" His buddy was on a date, and the Diamondbacks responded to him and said, "You'll probably have better luck with the TV crew." So he tweets at Bally Sports, "Hey, any chance?" Bally Sports, Diamondbacks responded at him and at Bally Sports, "What's he wearing? Now we're curious." He responded to them, "He's wearing a red D-back spring training shirt, and I think the girl's wearing green. I really hope he didn't lie about his seats." Diamondback said, "Hate to break it to you, but we can't find your friend." And then Bally Sports sends a gif of a guy making a face like, "Oh, we got him." And he sends them a picture of his friend's like location to like find friends. And then the Diamondbacks tweet out, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him," that gif. And so then he goes, "Go on, ha ha ha." And the Diamondbacks respond to him saying, "The body language looks good. They seem comfortable. They just laughed too. Stay tuned for more." He responded to them, said, "I love you guys." And it goes on for a little bit. They talk about, we're losing them. And then they said, "We're back." And his buddy texts him and goes, "Oh my gosh, you're an a-hole." And they show it on the Titantron, the big screen at Chase Field, him and his buddy and the girl he was on a date with, and they were on ESPN. They filmed him on ESPN. So the whole thing went viral, and I'm like, that's what pro sports are about, having a good time. This is a big thing you miss when there aren't fans in the stands, and that's just an incredibly fun story.
Right.
That guy's going to be able to tell that story the rest of his life. I'm going to be able to tell a story because I find this hilarious.
Exactly.
And just props to the Diamondbacks organization, props to Bally Sports for doing that, and props to that guy for being able to pull it off. That's hilarious. And I'm just saying that's a fun thing. When you're the MLB, that's the type of stuff you got to promote. Like, just having fun with the game. It's not taking anything away from the game. It's just like, look at that.
Yep.
So I thought that was incredibly fun.
Some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, please.
Exactly. It was great. There was also a clip of a guy. He was on a date. He was probably just like a 17-year-old, and a foul ball rockets into his hand. This is against the Phillies-Mets game that was Sunday Night Baseball. Once again, Matt Vasgersia, the best announcer in baseball. I love ESPN's presentation of the MLB so far this year. But they've been picking really good primetime games.
I hear ya.
So there's a foul ball. He's sitting there with this girl. They're both eating ice cream, and it's about to hit her. You can see it. It was arcing right towards her. She gets in a fetal position trying to protect herself, he stands up and grabs it barehanded and doesn't drop the ice cream.
That's pretty good.
What a man. So he probably impressed the girl just by catching the ball and not dropping the ice cream. So props to that guy.
Yeah.
He saved the woman and he and he didn't lose the ice cream. He gets to keep the ball, save the girl, and hold on to the ice cream. So 2 fun moments in Major League Baseball. Just had to bring it up. If you want to look up, you can probably just look up the Diamondbacks Twitter fan thing or something like that. It'll come up. It was incredibly fun to watch unfold. And so just props to the MLB, the Diamondbacks organization, and Bally Sports, and that guy, because that's just a fun story. So
yes,
I have my thank you prepared for after happy time. So I'll give my thank you after happy time. I always have a thank you.
All right. Happy time, people. Happy 60th birthday, Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah attended Indiana University, where he played under legendary coach Bobby Knight, and he won the NCAA championship in 1981, his sophomore season, and immediately declared for the NBA draft afterwards. He played for the Detroit Pistons his whole career and won 2 NBA championships back-to-back in 1989 and 1990. He was known as one of the leaders of the Bad Boys when they took the association by storm in the late 1980s through the early 1990s. And sadly, Isaiah, he's still infamously remembered for his supposed feud with Michael Jordan after leading the Pistons' early walkout during his last game of the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals. And that stunt kept him off of the Dream Team where he deserved to be in 1992.
Bad Boy Piston 30 for 30 was the first 30 for 30 I ever watched.
Good 30 for 30.
So that's still one of my favorites. Big fan of that team. Isaiah Thomas, an incredible basketball player. Chicago native, so it really hurts him that Bulls fans don't like him. So, I mean, what do you got to say? He's an incredible point guard, probably the greatest Detroit Piston ever. So,
yeah.
I mean,
you still got Bill Laimbeer.
It's him over Laimbeer.
Okay,
the only guy that has an argument.
But what about Chauncey?
The only guy who has an argument is Ben Wallace. It's the only one.
What about Chauncey?
Chauncey's not as good as Chauncey's not as good as Thomas because Thomas has 2 rings and 1 Finals MVP.
Yeah, but Chauncey should have had 2 rings.
That's true.
He got robbed.
Well, they got them out. He didn't get robbed. It's not his fault Ron Artest had to flip out.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, I'm just telling you.
I guess you're right. Well, I do think Thomas gets the slide. He's an incredible player. So, either way, still a Pistons legend regardless, and led a great basketball team. Figured out. Without him, Michael Jordan has said, give him a bit of props. He said, I don't know if he said this himself or somebody said this. Without the Bad Boy Pistons shutting him down, we wouldn't get the legendary Michael Jordan.
Oh, I would agree with that.
Because it wouldn't have given him that drive to be as great as he was.
Yes. Happy anniversary on this day in 1869, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, as they were then known, played their first professional baseball game, and they won it against the Great Western Baseball Club, 45-9, and that was the beginning of the oldest MLB franchise, and it's still up and running today. And speaking of my Red Legs, did pretty decent in April.
Yes, I saw.
Up and down, that whole.
I thought you were going to bring up the fact that they scored like 11 runs yesterday.
They scored 13,
That's what
they had a walk-off single by Castellanos into center.
He's been great.
Yes, he has been great. So I am him and Jesse Winker. So I'm excited about my Red Legs. They keep it up. Hopefully this season.
And don't you go underrating Joey Votto. I'm on the Joey Votto train.
I never did.
Well, I have, and I think a lot of people have. So I got to keep bringing up how good
the Canadian Thunder. So finally, happy trails this past Saturday. Essential Quality winning this past weekend's Kentucky Derby. Essential Quality was given 2-1 odds to win the Derby at Churchill Downs, but instead Medina Spirit won, who was correctly predicted by Steve Kornacki, the math guy of NBC and MSNBC.
He's great. I love him.
Guy. Yes,
I love
Kornacki.
him. I saw a joke somebody made a while back. It's like 90% loving stats, 10% liking sports. And I'm like, he's great. He's great. Whenever they show him, because he does the election, he does drafts.
And he does coverage. He gets paid $8 million a year.
Well, he's great. He deserves it. He's great.
Yes,
he's great.
Good. So, but I had to bring that up because of that. And also, since it was the Derby, you have to talk about the Derby. But anyway.
Who doesn't like a good old-fashioned Kentucky Derby?
Never been, so That's how it's going to be.
You see Brady's outfit? He had a nice hat.
I didn't, but I did see Aaron Rodgers there.
Aaron
looking
Rodgers.
happy.
And he said he was on the phone with Gruden. They had a nice conversation. I'm just kidding.
Fine.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right. Well, I was going to say thank you to Matt Rhule because he's my favorite coach in the NFL. I was really happy with this draft. And I know the majority of draft decisions are made by the GM, but he's also husband of the year for drafting the
yes,
Hubbard. He's husband of the year. So congrats to Rhule. Yeah.
Yes.
He's getting the wife points. Happy wife, happy life to Matt Rhule. And thank you to Matt Rhule for being a great coach and making me believe in Panther football again.
All right. Thanks for listening to this new episode, the latest episode of Sort of Sports Big Salad Podcast. Real quick, shout out to Ohio State University Marion, best college campus here in the state of Ohio. We'll see you next Monday. Good night. This is Quinn Maseko speaking for the Big Salad Podcast, a Ryan Klinger production. Please note that portions of this podcast were edited before the final cut was produced. The sections of What's the Word, Toss Up, and Happy Time are copied from the ESPN show, pardon the interruption, and the clip from Jeopardy of Alex Trebek rapping. And there was no intention to infringe on those copyrights for these segments and their related music. Stay tuned for our next podcast next Monday here on the Sort of Sports Podcast YouTube channel.